Good greetings. Welcome to episode, I think, 23. It's 23. A prime number. How auspicious. Of Western Wilds.
Prime number for a prime session.
Fuck yeah. All of my sessions are prime sessions. Anybody feel like giving us a recap? I know that our resident poet laureate has prepared one, if you'd like to do the honours.
Sure, I can do that this time. We emerged into light, a place unknown, chasing a child of night. Our fears had grown. If the child of darkness had slipped our sight, grandmother's own might pay the price in future's light. First came the banker with treacherous might, a stab to the back in the bright sunlight. In the midst of battle will emerged bold, with blade in hand their souls to uphold. But the cyborg forged with steel and wire dealt the final blow his strength did inspire, reducing the creature to dust and ring. Amidst the chaos, victory's song we'd sing. Misty in a cottage from another plane conversed with Granny's granny, death's domain. Beyond the realm where candles softly gleam and dragon's teeth whispered in a dream. Returning alone from that mystic abode, her friends above faced a mountainous road. Preparations made, the bunker sealed tight. Aishna marked for rest in future's light. With survivors in tow, united and just, seeking parents, children, and peace in a world they don't trust.
Fantastic. Yeah, so you chased down the old vampire lady who'd made her entrance the week before. Then it was sort of packing up, leaving the keys for the next people full of dynamite.
Manticore's word.
Yes, if intruder, then Manticore.
It's a very simple thing written in Python right on the front, and it's like right there. It's like, what? And they're like, it gives them like 5 seconds to read it. It's like, if
you can read this,
you're going to die by 5 Manticore. 5.
Wait, it says 4 now. Now it says 3, 2, 1.
Don't Manticore open inside.
I did really enjoy that discussion. There were a couple of things I really enjoyed last week. One of them was
Don't Manticore open inside.
Yeah, like these this is how dungeons happen. Like we have to take the 4 control rods and split them to different places of the facility to keep them safe, and then we're printing manticores and geese for no reason.
Geese.
And like. This is how dungeons happen.
Yeah.
My other favourite bit, I think, last week was the idea. I can't remember who was the originator, but the idea of getting the janitorial robots piece by piece to strip away the Titan. Aesthetics. Yes. So you can have a point of session inspiration.
Cool.
As previously discussed, everyone can have a full point of inspiration. If you don't already have one, we'll see there in a stack. And yeah, you guys set off. You're heading up to Logorilla, which is the Garu capital city. I'm just gonna. Do you mind unmuting the old Ujima flip so we can get a little bit of
Ujima flip. Unmute.
marvelous. I love this piece of music. You are heading up to Logorilla, which is the Garu capital city. The Garu are some of your allied. One of the allied. Friendly Kyoto tribes. So that is their capital city. You know that it is built into a cave system. Misty, you have vague memories of having been there when you were very, very young. But obviously the memories of that time are a little hazy and perhaps locked in some little boxes. You're also planning to visit Misty's erstwhile home in... what you understand to be subsite 71. You guys, I don't know if you know the number of it because, well, you probably don't because I made it up yesterday. We discussed this.
Unlikely that we know that.
Yeah. You're getting a lot of my internal monologue in this recap as well. Note to self. But you had seen there was a scout, a Raza scout on the Brown Road Battle, who had clocked the end of the battle with Etta Chambers, had seen her sort of combust and burst into flames, and you guys obviously doing that. So in order to not leave the prisoners and Ezekiel, your quartermaster friend, sort of in the lurch, you're all setting off north through this big rock maze. This looks sort of like it's like wind-formed spires of rock. This was probably rocky and mountainous pre-War of Worship rather than something that's formed. A lot of the geography and geology of Volan is very sort of seafloor, like geomechanics kind of stuff, because obviously it was down there for however many tens of thousands of years. But yeah, so you start heading off north. You have a team of little beetles. You have your little hover sled that you have loaded a bunch of like the bio ink and the other printing material onto as well. Yeah, what are you guys doing on as you're going on the journey? Like, how are you how are you moving? What sort of configuration are you guys going in?
I think Lily's near the front, keeping a lookout, looking for anything that's kind of going to come up with the horizon or anything like that. She's looking for potential enemies or anything of that nature.
Sure. Give me a perception check. It's a very dangerous thing to ask Lily.
Let's see. Perception, you say. Skills. I don't... Okay, 22.
Fair enough. What's your roll on the die?
14.
That's why it's dangerous. Yeah. So it is. I say there's even little flakes of snow. You're actually at real high altitude, especially like when that door opened for the first time. There was a big sort of rushing of air, as the air inside was a lot warmer, having sort of shared like a pressurization level with it equalizing with Harlan, and now you're opening it with that closed to there was that big rushing sort of like Tutankhamun's tomb sort of air as it opened up. But up at this altitude, there's even little bits of snow. Not a lot, just a few flakes here and there, but you're kind of at the equator, so that the sun is still like bearing down on you. So although it feels cool, it's sort of you're getting like you're covering up skin and sort of putting bits of balm and stuff
so,
on.
So I think Lily puts her hood up and then just kind of like reaches over to Misty and goes,
yeah, very good.
You get the sunburn deity real easy up here.
Yeah.
Even though it's snowing.
Misty, how are you feeling today?
Good, upbeat.
You got a big haul of tech?
Yes. Mostly playing that, finalising the modifications to Lucius?
Augustine.
Lucius is...
It's been 6 weeks, we'll allow it.
It's a different campaign.
Yep.
Apologies. Come on.
Imagine the riot that would ensue if Rich, in the final section of the campaign, just sort of Mission Impossible mask.
And it's Fenwick!
Oh, brilliant.
Apologies, Augustine.
What kind
Very
of...
different characters.
So,
as well.
whereas you were... Whereas you were sort of using, like, bits of, like, chemicals and just weird, stinky shit to put on the last sword, what kind of form is this one taking? What kind of science is going into it?
So, this one is... this one is actually going to be stealing from The Last Witch Hunter. Where...
Yeah.
So... Like when you unsheath it,
absolutely one of the films of all time.
Yeah. So there's a liquid that then runs down the blade, and with contact with air, will then illuminate in what you imagine must be a very powerful radiant burst.
Sweet.
What was your ruling on the mechanics of it? You said that it does do radiant damage?
Yeah, it's ridiculous that it wouldn't.
Does it do
Like,
extra radiant damage, or does it
No,
just
it turns the type to radiant damage.
Okay.
+1.
It's a +1 weapon, but it
Instead of dealing slashing, it deals radiant.
it does radiant instead of slashing. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think as the finishing stages was at the time, like it's coming down the end and then just pouring out, and I've managed. It looks like I'm finishing off like an infinite loop where the liquid is then not lost. So
Very cool, and incredibly similar to a magic item that already exists in this setting. That hopefully you will never meet. It belongs to the Balana body Charlotte, the head of the
blue robes?
the blue, teal robed Coatl.
Yeah.
Awesome. Augustine.
I think Augustine's a little bit quiet. He's in a little of a contemplative.
Yeah,
mood.
contemplative.
I think for two reasons. I think number one, he's leaving a place where he could have gained an advantage somehow.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they're having to seal off this place is like, oh, fuck's sake.
On to the next one,
Exactly.
I guess.
I think, but the other thing is that as we're going together, as like we're protecting this group of people, this is prime loan time. This is like he should be in salesman mode.
You're
but
absolutely correct as well. That hadn't crossed my mind. That's really interesting.
I think about the refugees from
Slumbering Hollow.
Yeah,
It's a
exactly.
place I definitely didn't name after Sleepy Hollow consciously.
And he's not.
He's not.
He doesn't know if he should, but he's fighting the instinct, right? He hasn't made the conscious decision not to yet.
Yeah, sure. But it's the first time there's been doubt for him.
Exactly.
Great point, because I hadn't thought about it. Will.
Real tempting to just do a bit and say he's asleep in his saddle.
That's entirely
But-
fair, yeah.
I think, because he doesn't actually sleep, he
Goes on autopilot.
could be going on autopilot, but I think actually he's going to be chatting to Ezekiel.
Sure, yeah. About anything in particular, or just sort of chatting in character, kind of
Chatting in character. Finding out a bit more about him.
Yeah.
Because he did well. He portrayed himself well in the combat. So just finding out a bit more about him and his background and where he learned to do all that kind of thing.
Roll a persuasion check. I imagine this can be good, but let's see.
30.
Cool. Yeah. What I'll say with that is then Ezekiel sort of finds a kindred spirit in you. That he's not as old as you are. He's probably in his 50s.
Still pretty
He's an
old for-
soldier. I mean,
old
he's
for a
still
soldier,
he's
yeah.
still built, but for a soldier, he's quite old.
Was he actually part of the initial expedition that came
Yes,
over?
absolutely.
In that case, yeah.
He might have known your wife.
Yeah.
I think if you choose to share that information, he will.
I wouldn't necessarily name drop her.
Yeah.
But if it comes up, like he might say, "Oh, my wife was, I came over with my wife."
I think he will put two and two. He's a smart cookie. He'll put two and two together eventually, and sort of commiserate and didn't know her well, but she had a reputation.
Yeah.
Honestly, even back then, he was an officer. He wasn't an enlisted man even 20 years ago. So
Would have possibly been at the same officer's mess.
That kind of thing. Yeah,
Both
absolutely.
been to the same hoity-toity party. Both hated it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the vibe you find is you find more in common as you ride than you thought you did. Do you remember XYZ? I do remember that. I was there. I was actually there. That kind of thing. Yeah, except in his deep American voice. The other thing he'll get talking about is magic, and he sort of asks you where you get your magic from, and he's clocked you as a warlock basically, and that kind of thing. But also,
And you're a bit that's not actually magic. Not really. It's all
technology. Yeah, that kind of thing. He will share a little bit about himself. So his spellbook is actually tattooed onto him. He casts. He has a staff as an arcane focus, but his spellbook is all ingrained because he's been captured before, and said, "If you want my spellbook, next time you capture me, you're going to have to peel it off me." He spent some time as a prisoner of war of the Coatl early days, and was freed, and then took straight back up with it again. Sweet, yeah. So we've got Lily up at the front, leading, Augustine contemplating, Misty crafting, Will chatting. Fantastic. I think also you share a brain with Leviathan. You share the physical sort of meat space brain with Leviathan. Leviathan is... You feel that finding one of her siblings was a big thing for her.
I am trying to give her space as much as I can.
I think
inside my own head.
You feel
She'll
that
talk
is
to me when she's ready.
Yeah. I think you have that emotion, and you feel some of her strange binary emotion as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you that's kind of appreciated as well. But like, in her search for her children, it's just been dead end after dead end after dead end. And this is, although not one of the goals she was looking to complete, it is the biggest step in the right direction in a long, long time. Yeah.
And she knows what she needs to do.
She does. I think actually, you will, when sort of the first day comes to an end, sort of Ezekiel is sort of seeing the refugees. I mean, you printed them all go bags, which was delightful. They're setting up the little tents and the blankets and sort of food tubes and stuff. And Leviathan will go, could I have a word with everyone, please? Over your various earpieces, and some of the data that I obtained from my siblings' databanks was illuminating in my continuing mission. I have identified the structure of the communications towers that would allow certain parts of the Immortal Network to communicate with each other. I'd be appreciative if you could keep an eye out for them, and in your brain, but also in your eyepieces and wrist computers and
I'll
stuff.
happily let her take over the minor illusion thing.
Yeah, it's
to
that kind of
create
thing.
a physical illusion.
Yeah, and it gives you this sort of like geometric unfolding communications tower that they look to be like retractable as well. They come out of like platforms which would normally be hidden under the ground or the water. But yeah, she gives you the physical appearance and structure of those.
So, did we know that they were what they were communicating? What the purpose of the communication was? Because your description of for Immortal facilities to communicate with each other that feels like the information to me. I can't remember if it's something that I've glossed over.
So you're aware that Immortal communication was very restricted, and it was only top down. This would be most likely for information to be disseminated to 2 subsites rather than from subsites upwards. Right. But you were aware that there is a satellite network. You had found out in Novem that there are certain information satellites that are sharing information. So roll a tech check for me as you have that thought.
17.
Yeah, I was going to say, give you a 12 as a difficulty. I think that's the moment you put together, like, there probably has to be some kind of ground-based receiver. So while this isn't for communication to go from tower to tower bouncing along the ground, this is probably a communication tower located at a site or subsite that could be raised to receive information if it was needed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Leviathan is wanting us to find a location that can do this.
No, not at all. It is if you see them. Because if you see parts of them, if bits of them have been scavenged, or if you see that looks like a weird rock formation,
then we know there's a subsite.
Then you might know there was some kind of Immortal tech nearby. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I thought that we were looking for those so that we could download information from the satellite network.
No, unless information was being actively transmitted, you wouldn't be able to get information from them. It would be a geographical marker.
Okay, so we're looking for those markers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Leviathan, are you permitted to access the towers?
I don't know that one.
Playing the game in 4D. It knows.
It was somehow more upbeat and yet more sinister.
Right?
Yeah, you should give all the Immortal AIs Australian accents.
Okay, William.
Oh, that is more terrifying.
As I was saying. That needs to fucking stop right now, so I'm going to check that decision.
Yeah, it needs to stop. Or else
What was the question?
Leviathan, are you permitted to access?
That's such a good question. There is a period of silence. Yes, I will be able to access them.
Not what I asked.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like we all tweet that.
everyone is. This is over a public channel, effectively, and I think all of you DC like 5 insight check. I mean, all of you have got that. I think automatically.
Yeah.
Just think like, that's not the question that was asked, but it was the one that was answered.
You just need a manual jack. My name is Will.
Is there a remind me which... this isn't to Leviathan, this is my own knowledge. What Immortal Protocol does that breach, theoretically?
It very technically doesn't.
The best kind.
Yeah, and that's it. And as you are well familiar with, what she is suggesting is not trying to. If it was downloading information, that would be prohibido, mi amigo. This would be sort of like there was no provision made for Immortal Intelligences to go walk about Inogai.
Yeah.
And therefore, they never foresaw this being a problem they had to ban. That kind of thing.
They didn't realize this was a door that they had to lock up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Bad security protocols.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're only as smart as I am, and fuck them. Yeah, so, like, you're not sure what she will be capable of when she does get there. She will still be bound in certain ways. But simply distributing that information to some meat people and getting them to physically go there, that's not a problem. Also, you guys are inheritors. You are supposed to have a certain amount of access. Every living human is supposed to have a certain amount of access to the Immortal Network. You guys currently have row clearance from Yenis's command crystal, so you are a huge cut above even baseline all humans are supposed to have this access. Yeah.
Have we identified what the different clearance levels are? Or do we just know that row is what
you know that what you know what you've got? You've got a key card that unlocks that door and those files, basically, yeah. Cool. Misty. Sorry, did you have another question?
Not related, and not one I'm going to ask now.
How are you feeling over the next, let's say, 3 days, as you're aware that you're getting closer to Subsite 71?
What's the sort of journey time?
About 4 days.
About 4 days. Okay, so the first two, visibly no real change.
Jovial, tinkering away.
Yeah, ever in the presence without ever looking forward.
Yeah.
If anything, there might be brief pauses, like on day 3, that could be interpreted as apprehension, but there's still a high level of manic energy going on. There's a lot to distract her at the moment. So for now, absolutely fine. I'm not thinking about this. Let's focus on.
Doesn't
the here
exist.
and
Can't
now.
hurt me.
Yeah.
I've got questions I want to ask, but I also don't want to disturb your calm.
Fair.
But are we intentionally going there?
Yes.
That was my understanding of it.
Because we're going to have to be, because you're going to have to be more actively involved in that. Because you're going to have
Yes.
to be actively directing us as to.
So,
where to go.
so Misty was. She suggested it. She wants to
Yes.
go back
Mhm.
there.
You recall the sort of you recall the physical description of the place, which is there are some. It is in a flat rock face, which is sort of in a little inlet, a bit like Novem was set into a rock face, that kind of thing. But there is the standard like sheet metal doors that you sit on the rock face. So you if you are following the rock wall far enough north and sticking to it, which once you get down out the mountains on sort of day 3 and you're travelling sort of along that rock canyon, and you're also basically getting into you're getting into like certainly like the territory lines, but this is so mountainous that no one patrols it, if that makes sense. It would be a waste of energy to try and patrol all these little mountain canyons, and you're certainly keeping an eye out for ambushes because this is prime territory. Roll me another perception check.
So yeah, this would definitely be where the guerrilla insurgents would be
27.
insurging or hiding out.
I think you do clock some small groups of both allied and enemy coyotl. That's a huge roll, not gonna lie. So what was it, 19 on the die? And
19 on the die plus 8.
Yeah. So you do clock the
The universe.
well, yeah. I remember something we forgot to do. Does anyone have any goals they want to put in? If they do and they are missing, just text them to me at some point in the next.
There was something
hour or
I
so.
wanted to do while we were traveling.
Yeah, go for it.
Lily is aware that there is a god that she wants deposed.
Huh?
And these 4 or 5, was it how many people we have with us that were
It's-
deeply indebted to us to the point
Half
of
a dozen.
half a dozen. Lily starts proselytizing to them and trying to kind of convince them that not that she is a god, but that there is a potential for her to be like not dissuading that opinion. She's trying to seed the
That
start.
Lily is.
Yes.
Wait, you're a god.
Yes.
Roll me a charisma religion check.
She's stolen your role.
I think that makes Augustine go an even bigger thunk.
Okay, so
So not
charisma.
only is he resisting the choice to do it, but then he's seeing someone else effectively
Muscling
pull
on the
pull the
turf.
same con.
I'm going to use my session inspiration.
Yeah, go for it.
Guess that was a natural 1. That is another natural 1. I'll use my regular inspiration.
If this is a third, I swear to fuck.
It's not. It's an 8.
8. I'll go with boop. Charisma inspiration. You say.
Charisma religion.
Charisma religion. Okay. I think I am trained in. Yes, I am. So that
So,
is
8 plus prof plus charisma.
Yeah. So 3 plus charisma is her charisma is actually quite high. 3.
So 14.
14.
Are you doing this like around the campfire in the evening, or
Yeah, I think what she just is there a god of twilight currently?
Yeah, highs or lows?
Lows, given my rolls.
It's a real shame. You don't know of one, which generally with the Ulsterian Pantheon probably means they're dead.
That's fine. Dead is not a god currently. So she kind of begins proselytizing about things like in contrast to the god of dawn, which appears to be about promising hope and never delivering. She extols the virtues of a god of twilight
That always delivers.
that always delivers and is about accepting of reality and beholding the beauty of things like the sunset.
Okay.
And she names it as the Black Lily.
It's a really interesting idea. The religion,
start.
the number you would have to roll on an innumerable number of successive religion checks is insane. On a 14, I think that's a straight failure on the first roll to try and achieve this. I think this probably weirds people out more than anything else.
Okay.
Because generally the people that are trying to become gods are like cackling liches and
But she's doing it, she's not trying to say that she's becoming a god. She's trying to say that there is a god called the Black Lily that is the god of twilight that she serves.
right. Okay, so you are
I'm trying to kind of go about it in a roundabout way because the Black Lily is also her, so
sure. So you are trying to name the idea of a god and fulfill it.
yes.
Okay.
And these might just be a start.
I think you are. What you do with the 14 is like impart the physical information. Like, there's no like tangible element of faith in there. And I think Augustine, if you're sort of overwatching this, you don't have any kind of like what you call like detect evil and good or any divine sense or anything like a class ability would do it. I think you have enough of a familiarity with faith and also an academic understanding of like the doctrine of reflected faith, which you have studied in quite some terms to discover your own condition. As of yet, there is nothing. These are hollow words. It feels. That may change, but you even if you're not sure of intent, you're sure of result there, which is. So you tell them about it, but in the same way that like a witness arrives at your door and tells you about it's like cool story, bro.
Lily knows that this is a long process. This isn't a one and done. This isn't going to happen immediately. This is going to take time. Mm-hmm. And even with just these people, even saving their lives and escorting them through the desert
is a votive in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, leading people through the desert. Yeah.
I mean...
And people walked in darkness. That was always the best line of the carol service was, and the people walked in darkness. Because, that was supposed to be a very hopeful, procession of the Magi kind of stuff. And there's a guy called Rory Waters, who was one of my music teachers, who had an amazing basso profundo singing voice, deepest voice I've ever heard. And he used to come on the mic in the cathedral and the pulpit up at the front on next to the west nave, next to the north nave, and go, and the people walked in darkness. I was like, yes! Yes!
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I need to read this. That has some fun adjectives in it.
What did you do? Lily, you wake up in the middle of the night with a knife at your throat and a note in front of your face saying, "Don't religion."
Don't religion.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us.
Roll me a DC 15 alchemist check with intelligence.
Oh shit, it wasn't even you!
Don't roll less than 5 on the die.
Oh.
I'm flattered that you assumed it was.
Yeah. It's an interesting adjective.
So alchemist, is that basically proficiency?
It'll be a tool proficiency, yeah. So you'll have an alchemist kit, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do. So, and then, am I adding any of my other modifiers to
Intelligence.
it? Intelligence, okay.
Excuse me.
I'm not touching the dice, you have to have a look at
But
it.
is it nat 20?
Yeah.
Okay, you make a claymore. Fine.
Yay!
Oh!
I did put in brackets that I hate the idea, but I thought
So
of it and
you
now
sort of,
Misty has to have thought of it.
You sort of see Misty sort of away from the fire.
It's really far away.
Get here. It's really cool. Come over. Yeah. And you realise why she's away from the fire. It's because she is almost like glitter gluing ball bearings into dynamite. Using Alchemist's fire as the glue, but it's like stabilised Alchemist's fire.
Hey, Misty, never mind.
I will say you can turn one stick of dynamite into a dynamite plus, and then we'll discuss what that does when it comes up.
Yeah.
Anti-personnel dynamite.
White phosphorus dynamite.
Oh God. Cross the line. Anyway, yes. So you get that conversation sort of started at least over these few days. I think one of the things you're aware of is that Alden is actually a very popularly worshipped god as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sun gods generally tend.
They tend to be sort of have that sort of
Lily's
inherent protagonism to them.
Lily's thought process is there are 2 ways she could kill him. If he came down here, and that's not happening, he's not stupid.
Yeah.
Or she went after him.
Yeah.
And the only way that is happening if she ascends.
Certainly, so Lily would need to ascend to heaven to kick his ass. Or...
And Lily is a woman who has time and goals.
You got the hustle. Yeah. So I will also point out that if you went to an Austerian afterlife, you would go to heaven.
Yeah, but as a soul without a body and potentially no agency.
There is a particular NPC that we are intimately familiar with, who was designed, essentially, to flip off the gods. And we've got a lot of sub-sites, let's call them, for this entire network that a lot of them are designed to...
They were designed to kill gods while they were on this planet. They are no longer on this planet. And that is the...
Roll an intelligence check.
4.
Can I roll the intelligence check?
Yeah, go on.
Oh, that's not great.
Theoretically, would there be a fear that if it were to get directly involved,
18.
it would break the truce?
No comment. Roll your intelligence check.
21.
So the covenant was signed between the gods. You don't know the internal politics of the Heavenly Court, is what I will say. It may not just be... You're certainly aware that there was not homogeneity between the opinions of the gods when the covenant was signed. It was simply that a majority of them at that time, and a plurality that was able to force the minority to bend. Your question was... You just rolled the intelligence check.
Yes.
I'm going to say a phrase to you that I have said to you before that may have slipped past you. The centennial counterattack on the gates of heaven.
Yeah, I figured, you don't win just by playing defensively.
Yeah. You are aware that, at least in some form, not a mortal, but the precursor humans weren't just playing castle. They weren't just playing a tower defense game. Yeah. Balloons. Yeah. Cool.
I mean, might ask Leviathan if she's got any tips for helping Lily go kick a god's ass.
She would. It's like I'm just going to do this in character actually because I haven't been here for a while. This is by no means my primary function, but I believe, I can infer that some of my siblings may be the people you would wish to speak to. Well, I say people.
We use that term quite loosely, I think.
Cool. As you're getting down out of the mountains towards the third day, had I finished everything I had? No one's waiting for me to say something? I feel like I missed something.
No, I mean, we got onto a tangent when you were talking about how we were passing through the mountain lines.
Yeah.
And there was, Lily saw some
So
friendly
yes, yeah.
ants
So
and
you
enemy
can see
insurgents.
roving bands of Kyotl of various kinds. These all look to be scouts.
So they
of various
see
kinds.
us and then skitter off and see us. And skitter
I
off.
don't necessarily even think they see you. Definitely not on that one. I think you you are well hidden when you see like a party of Artilla, who are the white-robed Coyotl, who tend to be extremely vicious. They are a very combat-focused tribe.
It's like everyone that hunker down and
Yeah, and they go past you. It's very hiding from the ring wraiths under the bridge kind of thing. And they
But it's that close.
not that close, but it's not that much further.
Yeah.
But it's a much bigger party than yours, and you've got
Yeah.
the baggage, as it were, to weigh you down. So they probably come within maybe a quarter mile of you, and you manage to get off and disguise yourselves perfectly fine. That 27 perception gives you the pre-warning, and time is the most important thing in that. There is a group of allied Coyotl who look to be a mixture, actually, of mostly Garu. There is what looks to be like an attached Raber, the purple robe, like Mockle, the one you met at the... it looks like one of those is implanted with this group of Garu. The Garu are riding like the big stone bisons with these enormous sort of rocky plates on the big domed forehead, almost like knucklehead trout from Icewind Dale, where they've got the big protuberance on the front. It's that, but it's just rock. You wouldn't want to get a headbutt from them, put it that way. And they blindly stumble. They rolled a nat 1 on the perception check against you guys. So, they sort of like, if you don't reveal yourselves, they will just trample right past you, and they really should have noticed you.
yeah.
If you do reveal yourself, there will be a little shamefaced about keep it better than
I let them
keep their pride. Yeah. Cool. But you get eventually to a big sort of curtain of rock that spans a huge northward stretch. There are little alcoves and little sort of protuberances, but it's really quite a straight shot for quite a lot of miles. Misty, there's a little lead weight begins to form in your diaphragm as you recognise this. Can I get a survival check? But you can use intelligence if you want to, instead of wisdom.
Ooh, okay. 17 on the dice.
There is no possible way you could have forgotten the location of this place. It is seared into your memory.
Are you alright?
What do the others see as you realise you're probably maybe 10 minutes away at this point?
26 on insight.
Um,
Granny vision is on.
she stopped tinkering. There's a quiet, like lining up for a very scary roller coaster. It seemed like a good idea at the time, and now you've stood in line.
Oh, what a weapons grade description.
Yeah. And now there's only one person in front of you, and there's a mile long of people behind you. You can't turn back. This is happening.
So, funny you should mention that. Having had a child as the parent in that situation, you can always turn back. Every single time.
Lincoln?
Yeah. He did not like the slinky dog.
Aww.
Of all the things.
With your crazy levels of insight, turning back does not seem like an option.
I think she just goes, "Are you right?"
There is a potential for answers, and so
if you think that, you don't have to go in. We can go in and.
No, Grandian won't recognise you. We've got a long history. He'll be grumpy if anyone else but me goes in.
But I'm sure Leviathan can make those kinds of introductions without you. You don't have to go in.
I am perfectly capable if it would make it easier for you.
No, I want to see everybody again.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the town and all the people.
Oh, right.
Got a library book to take back. It's probably a very large late fee, but they'll waive it.
All right. Okay.
I never actually asked, how did you come to meet Nicodemus?
He was there at the university when I was brought back.
He was also a friend of your parents previously to that. I don't know how well you knew him, but he was certainly a friend of your father's.
Oh.
Well, how did you leave this place? Like, did some people stumble in?
Yeah. There were some rescuers, and they took me first, and then obviously they're probably still out there because obviously they haven't brought my parents back yet. So they're probably still looking like I am. So it's not fair that only they look.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll see when we get there.
Okay.
When you were young, you remember it being the coolest thing in the world that you could make a magic rock wall appear by pressing a button that you couldn't see. Now, you're quite familiar with deactivating a Paytax unit hiding a pair of metal doors in a rock canyon, which is what you find. Boop. Yeah, that familiar slate blue grey metal with that on inscribed into the doors.
It's real cool that you can just show your arm.
It is. With tattoos, you always worry that you're going to regret them. I have not had a single day of my life where I have not looked at that and it's made me a bit happier. I truly love it. I truly do. I cannot describe how much that has added to my life. It not just because I like the aesthetic of it, but because of what it represents and not even just like the D&D. I got this because it reminded me of my propensity for healing after the first version of this game ended so badly with so much emotional trauma. And it did take me 2.5 years to heal enough to restart it, but I did, and I managed to forgive myself and the world enough to restart this game and do probably one of the best campaigns I've ever done. And so that is why I look at that every fucking day, and it makes me really happy. That's an aside.
Take a point of inspiration, Joe.
I will. Use it against you. No.
Betrayed!
Yeah. Anyone can see this is not a perception check needed. There is a small slip of paper that appears to be pasted across the crack in these doors, where the doors part like lift doors. Mm-hmm. There is a slip of paper that appears to have been covered over, and it's stuck one side on that door and one side on the other door.
What is it? Just like a blank piece of paper or something on it?
Yeah, it has a tag from the University of Aylin and a date as well. The date is about 8 years ago.
Is this your rescue date then?
Do you remember the rescue date? Is that one of the things that has fallen by the wayside of history, or is that one of the things that's really burned in there?
That's the one that's probably going to be burned in there.
This is about 4 days after your rescue. No, probably 2 days after your rescue.
And so, just so I can get it clear in my mind, is it that the bit of paper went all the way across the door and the door has opened since and it's been ripped in half?
No,
or is it...
no, very much the opposite. So let me just draw you a little...
Yeah.
This is them officially sealing the thing.
Yeah, this is... that's exactly it. It looks like that. It is basically a way to tell that it hasn't been opened since. Obviously, you could cast mending on it once it was closed, but yeah, this is just sort of an official sort of... what do you call it?
Tamper-proof seal.
Yeah, to a certain degree, but also like a piece of almost bureaucracy, like an administrative thing.
And to clarify, when we see it, the seal has already been broken.
The seal has not been broken.
So we are the further ahead.
It looks like no one has been to this since 8 years, roughly 8 years, sans 2 days. Yeah. One thing that does hit you at this point, no one has been looking here.
Yeah, that's what I've just realised.
Well, I mean, that's because they already looked here and the parents weren't there, so they've gone to look elsewhere. I'm saying that out of character.
As you bring your data pad and your various access crystals and myriad of technology near, a little semicircle of light appears where you can switch it round to open the door should you wish to.
2 moments, I just want to know.
Or do they know that you've booby-trapped it and decided, you know what, let's just leave the seal there until...
What I will point out is a number of representatives from the university came and rescued Misty and were responsible adults from that point onward. Even if you had left booby traps, they will have been disassembled, unless they left more of their own.
So, upon seeing the seal and that it's still intact,
Yeah.
she goes very quiet and then very angry, and I will cast Flaming Spear at the note.
This enormous roiling orb of fire appears, and there is a real dark look in Misty's eyes. And it bursts into flame and it can disintegrate instantly. Dry paper in desert heat that is introduced to flame, just gone in an instant.
They stopped looking.
They just stopped looking here, dearie. That's all. That's all. How big is this place on the inside?
You'll see, and she'll throw open the doors.
I'm going to activate a new scene.
Is this the one you're proud of?
Yeah.
Was it whole fucking city or something? It's crazy. Right.
You may want to control with Game Master. There's no. I'm going to tell you now. There's no combat going to be in here. So if you want to just use one person as a, as a new.
I nominate Misty.
That seems.
Oh, apparently I nominated everyone.
Oh, that also works.
That was looks.
Democracy.
Too late.
Misty, you get your first look at this piece of machinery in 8 years. Giving over the narrative reins to you for a second, what's happening now?
It is amazing how quickly anger will turn to grief, especially if you roll a nat 1 on a particular saving dice. So, just from my memory as well. So this is This is kind of like
It's a huge circular dome-shaped room.
Yeah.
There is the entrance to the town is up there at the top of the map, closest to you.
Yeah.
You lived in that bit. You never came into this bit because you didn't want to, basically.
So
This is where your parents were when they disappeared. The last time you saw them, they were in this room.
because these are coils, right?
They are big, tall, 8-foot-high copper coils filled with, wires and machinery and stuff. Also, the wires you can see on the floor, those are all artificer tech. They're not precursor tech. Your parents were making changes to this machinery. Or not necessarily changes to function, but they were repairing, they were adding their own bits in to get it functional.
Cool. So yeah, she'll march in, and then she'll get about 5 feet from the machine and just stop dead, and then kind of pause, and then just start like kicking and like kind of punching the
console?
Not the console, just the closest tower that happens to be there.
Sure.
And they're at this point. There's now like tears in her eyes, and she's kind of like, bring them back, and she's kind of just hammering, like not in a way that's gonna really damage it, just more in a I'm upset and I'm gonna kick something because it's hurt me kind of way.
I think Lily comes up behind you and just puts a hand on your shoulder. This machine can't bring them back, sweetie, but we might be able to. But we can't do that if you break it, so if you need to hit something, hit me.
She'll raise a fist up, and then it'll just flop to her side, and she'll just cry at this point.
Yeah, and so Lily will wrap her up and
What's
get you a cookie.
the state of this? Like, does it look like something has happened here, or does it like? Is it stuff
This
broken,
machinery
or?
looks relatively intact. Age has not been kind to it, but it hasn't been open to the elements at all. Obviously, Misty and her parents were here for some time. Misty wasn't in this room for any of the time she spent here. Whichever scientists came from the university were not here longer than a couple of days. That's with like the date on the thing, and you've learned that much. That. So
But I guess what I'm saying, it's not like we've walked into a room where clearly an incident has happened. It's just
No,
we just
by no
walked into-
means.
There's a machine there that you're.
So what it is there's a sort of slightly domed. That's horrible. Slightly domed floor plate, basically.
I'm going to go into full diagnostics mode.
Yeah.
Just get Leviathan to assist.
How
with,
may I be of assistance, William?
Okay, I would like to see if we can access the logs to see exactly what happened. To see, and this is on a private channel, not including Misty.
Sure.
She's not checking the data pad, but yeah, continue.
See if we can figure out exactly what happened. Well, any kind of error codes that might have happened. See if we can find out maybe a bit more information than about what happened to her parents.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
This physical architecture is unfamiliar.
I think Lily takes Misty to the side a bit because she can see what you guys are doing. Takes you aside and kind of sits down with her and says, "Misty dearie, I've gotten a little bit more power. I know you spoke to my granny. Would you like to ask her a question? I can only do this really once a day. If you had any question you could ask a woman who knows the ins and outs of death."
Genuinely, it's my favourite
It's a
spell.
very good spell when I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Please help.
ask her to bring them back. Can you do that?
You've already asked her that, haven't you?
Yeah, she said it doesn't work like that.
But you could ask her how to do it. Or you could ask her where they are. Or we could ask a different power. The spell isn't limited to my granny. It could be asked to somebody else. There are a myriad of gods who know all kinds of things.
Ask her to take me to them. At least then we'd be together.
I can ask her how that's possible.
No, I don't want to know how it's possible, Granny. That's what I want to happen. I want to be with them. Like I should have been for years.
The spell doesn't work that way, sadly. Not yet. I have heard rumors of people with greater affinity that can do that kind of thing. But what I can give you is a question that has an answer, not an action. Do you understand the difference?
Yes.
But if
I've
the
lived
god-
at the university for 8 years and they didn't do anything.
No,
and she's gonna.
But the university is stumbling in the dark with questions that they never get actually answers to until they do millions of experiments. This is a question you will get a direct answer to of a thing you can do. If you want to ask, how do I rejoin my parents? Using the tools in this room.
So, assuming your insight roll carries over, there's not a logical part of her brain working at this point. So she's literally going to storm out of the room, but not out into the desert, further in.
Right. I think Lily chases after her.
Go ahead and click that little door open. You want to zoom. That entrance bit isn't important. So if you want to put the bottom of the circle at the bottom edge, you should be.
Oh, this place is huge, isn't it?
Jesse is proud.
Ooh. Little teddy bear. Oh god.
Oh no.
Oh, it must be multiple teddy bears.
Oh.
Assuming they're teddy bears.
Sure.
Oh no!
No.
Oh no!
So what you see
They're teddy bears, right?
is
Teddy bears. Yeah.
what would happen if you gave an 8-year-old genius access to a precursor bioprinter with 0 adult supervision for a year.
Oh no.
There is chalk scrawlings over every surface, every patch of the floor, like circuit diagrams and equations, and also like playground markings like hopscotch and a maze, and there are like, have you ever seen there was an artist who basically got kids to draw toys and he made them exactly as the kids drew them, not nicing them up so they looked good.
Just
exactly. This is that. This is someone who had the skill to physically construct it, and not so much the creative right brain kind of right brain, left brain, right brain sort of artistic talent almost to bring them into real life. There are half constructed toys, things like Lego sets and like Meccano, but also like teddy bears and things that are like soft and plush, but a lot of them look like they've just sort of been discarded and like they were made and that was the interesting bit and then flung aside because they're boring now.
You said bioprint. There's nothing alive here, right? Is there? No?
Are you walking into this room?
Lily is.
So Misty
Lily.
is planning to sit underneath that console.
You see, as you go past those figures by the door, one of them goes, "Halt! In the name of the law!" And it does like a sort of, and there's a very simple servo motor only in one arm that does this. Okay. Halt! In the name of the law! Halt! In the name of the law!
Like Lily looks around the room.
And as you go,
slowly.
you see it, and it's like, "Hey there, Misty! It's me, the baker!" And there's one that only this arm waves.
Oh, this place is making Misty make a lot more sense now.
Howdy ho, neighbor!
This
Howdy ho, neighbor!
Oh, please stop.
Howdy, real life or?
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Like unless you step away, that's going to keep doing that. There's a motion sensor in there.
Lily just kind of moves away from these things,
Yeah.
and she realizes they're not alive, and she's
there is no life in them. They are, but you can see the progression. You can see that some are like almost just like, you know, like 3D printing pens.
Yeah.
You can like print a stick figure and it has like tensile strength to it, but it's just a stick figure. And then as it gets up, you get more and more advanced until they're like mannequins, and then they have features, and then they have like moving parts that are like simple string on a counterweight, and then they have motors and servos, and then they have motion sensors, and then they have speakers, and you can see vicious intelligence in progress as you go around the room, and you can say, okay, I know that happened first, then that, then that, then that.
Yeah.
And also over in the corners, there's piles of discarded parts and projects that were abandoned and things. There is like an AstroTurf park in the middle of the town, and a full fake plastic tree, full Radiohead. And over at the top where Misty is, there is a big Immortal computer bank. Greetings, user. Please insert data key.
And then I think
So
it only
she's-
takes a minute to
Yeah,
get there.
she's kind of huddled up there and she's just crying because there's another one on those dice.
You know, wow. You know what you would need to do to get Grandian to speak, which is put Grandian's head on the pedestal. Because otherwise, that is just that's Grandian, but that's how you make him remember who he is. You put his head on the little pedestal.
Yeah, because that's the little skull thing that I've carried
that's
around.
the translation skull.
Yeah, just checking that is the same thing
absolutely.
that I've remembered. So she's kind of cuddled up underneath it, and then almost muscle memory pulls the head out and just sticks it above, and then comes back down again.
Greetings, user. Designation Misty. How are you doing today, sweetheart?
She's lost control at this stage. She's just crying.
Like Lily walks up a minute later and like crawls underneath with Misty, and just holds her for a bit and just tries to give her a cookie.
And it works.
You find out something that wasn't a 1.
Yes.
Was it a 2?
It was a 5, which is why it would have been real bad if she dropped another 1.
Did you make all this, dearie?
Yeah, had to make myself friends.
I can see that. You got quite good at it eventually.
Yeah. That was my real calling, making fake friends.
You made some real ones now, okay?
And they can bake.
I can bake. I can do that. Oh boy. Oh boy.
I think you got a monopoly on making bit characters sad. You fool! You can see that as the translation skull hits the pad on which it's supposed to rest, it's sort of this weird like amorphous gel that sinks into like a conductive gel, and you can see the energy flow up from it into the skull and vice versa. And it logs you in, effectively. You see Zomil systems as the swirling around on there. And it basically brings up the desktop of the computer.
There you go, you met him now, Granny. You met Grandian.
Hello, Grandian?
Greetings, user. How are you, sweetheart?
I haven't called sweetheart in a long time, dear.
Unknown query.
Right. I prefer to be called Lily.
Greetings, Lily. How are you, sweetheart?
Did you do that?
Some of it, yes.
Right. Okay.
You can tell it's got a very exaggerated cadence, which wasn't present when the translation skull wasn't on there. This profile, this personality is entirely even more synthetic than it otherwise would be, and is clearly stored within the skull rather than the machinery.
I got bored of making the same tweaks over and over again, so I programmed it all into the skull.
Right.
Saves me having to teach it the same thing every day.
When it resets. So we program the skull, and the skull maintains its memory. Very clever. Well, you haven't been back here since now you've got a higher level of clearance. Perhaps maybe with that you can get at something you couldn't before.
Her eyes will light up. What would happen if I added the rogue crystal alongside?
I mean, that was one of my
There are two
immediate
pads,
ones.
one on either side, like almost like control orbs you sit on, but they're not for your hands. They're for different stuff.
Yeah, when you mentioned there was a slot for a crystal, that was my first thought.
What you've basically got is a laptop dock
Yeah.
and like a smart card reader. Those are the two things. That's the crystal and the skull are those for. God, I hate myself.
Yeah.
Even more than usual.
She's rolled enough successes.
Yeah.
So she'll leap up and she goes, "Yes, Granny," and she'll get the crystal, plug it into the slot.
Yeah. Again, it goes down to that like conductive gel and light starts coming through it.
She's about to send a query, and then she will send a message on the pad to you guys. He goes, "Are you near the machine?"
Let's back away. We'll go into the next room and join her.
I think you can actually see them. Like
Okay.
you're looking straight down, and it is a straight shot from this computer straight through to the.
She's so used to the door being closed that hasn't occurred to her.
Oh, you're breaking my fucking heart.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, love it. Oh, feed me your anguish. Yeah. As you guys step through, you see this, like circuit diagrams and hopscotch and howdy neighbor, and yeah. Do with that information what you will.
These are the four things that are talking, right?
Yeah.
All well, I would say about half of the ones in here talk.
So there's some over there as well.
Yeah.
Around by the way, those roofs are like pretty tiled Ulsterian roofs, like storybook cottage kind of. Like some of those are like thatch and stuff because you would be able to print it, and they are all about a foot deep shops. They are like a shop front, but there's no shop behind them. There's just like a picture in crayon on the wall behind it of a shop, and then like like the glass door of a bakery with like these like plastic children's food kind of in the door of the grocers and stuff. Yeah. About half of them speak, about half of them move. You can see that the oldest ones have all been scrapped in favour of the newest ones. Mm-hmm. There was like a continuous like cycle through of the most advanced ones.
So I think Orksy will ignore them as he's walking past them, but if he ends up when I get to you guys, if he happens to stop in a position that is triggering one continuously, he will stab it with the sword.
I do not blame you. Right here, you're not. No, this is Grandian's space. This is Grandian's little pocket. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to play about and then
No,
the machine start up
that's
again.
fine. Dear.
Were we able to get any logs before we?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
So the terminal there is going to be 100% a hacker's tools to get into the main room terminal.
This is not something we can interface with our tech stuff.
No, because the control center of this place is Grandian. That's a machine. This is the computer. Like that.
Right.
Like yeah.
I got proficiency in hackers.
Go for it.
That's a 16 on the dice, plus proficiency bonus of 3.
19 minimum,
19,
and then int.
To dirty 20.
This is some form of matter transporter, but there has been significant aftermarket alterations made to it.
These alterations, would they obscure the destination of the last use?
I'm sorry, William. That information is classified.
Do you have the knowledge that you can't share, or you're unable to
You can
receive
tell
the
that she
knowledge?
really wants to.
Well, I'm just trying to find out. Does she know the answer but can't share
yeah.
it? Okay.
So as a matter transfer, is it a different type of technology to the one we use to get to Site 5?
Oh, that was a tunnelling thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, so this is not... so the teleportation tunnel you had, that was fold 2 points of space together to make a doorway. This is take one thing,
Like Star
electronically
Trek.
deconstitute it, and then reconstitute it somewhere else.
Are you able to...
It appears this site is involved in the distribution and logistics of physical space. Taking resources to and from different parts of the network. But there was nothing logged because of Immortal Protocol 2. It never knew where it was sending things. It was given encrypted coordinates.
Is there a way to work out where they've gone?
I'm sorry, William. That information is classified.
Would it be a bad idea to go through it ourselves? Not now, but possibly at a later date. Really didn't want to ask would it be healthy, happy, safe and alive at the end of it.
I can't tell you that, William.
Can you tell us whether the non-Immortal modifications make it easier or more dangerous to use the device?
They were not part of the original function of this device. These changes were made as part of the Immortal network mission, and they were abandoned.
Oh, so they're not... they are still precursor modification. I thought they were...
These are precursor modifications.
Oh.
Great question.
I thought they were like Misty Parents
No,
modifications.
no, these
okay.
were there before.
Apologies.
So these predated Immortal, but were repurposed for Immortal?
This machine predates Immortal. This was a regular matter transporter. Something has been done to it down here that made it different.
Are you able to tell us what is different about this compared to the standard model?
I'm sorry, William.
What can you tell us about the standard model?
You sort of feel her take a breath. The standard model is involved in wide-scale resource distribution. I am aware that my internal structure, my physical body, had such a transporter to be able to receive materials, construction materials, to build my physical form. I am also aware that later in the war and further into the project, resources arrived via a different method. This method was abandoned, and clearly its machinery was set to a different purpose.
Are you able to share what the purpose of this particular subsite was?
Distribution and logistics.
Okay.
Misty.
Hi, Grandian.
Hello, sweetheart. How are you?
I've had better days, but I've had my 18th birthday now, and I've become a proper grown-up. And she says that as she inserts the...
You haven't had your 18th birthday.
No.
But it doesn't know that.
It doesn't know that. Is what I'm going with.
Also, age
Yeah.
majority in this world isn't 18.
That's true. Also, like, I think it doesn't have the intelligence to understand the meaning of that. Like, yeah. I'd say this is a lower subsite intelligence.
Shouldn't lie, Misty.
Road clearance accepted. You see files that you never had access to before.
Ooh. These look interesting, but you know what I'm going to ask? Because it's the same thing I've asked every day. Can you bring them back?
Unknown query, which is your standard response.
Yeah, he's in a grumpy mood.
Oh, right, dearie. Perhaps phrasing the question differently. Your parents, they disappeared in the other room, right?
Yes.
Yes. Grandian,
Hello, Lily.
that is somehow more concerning. The device in the other room, what is its purpose?
Its purpose is the redistribution is the distribution of logistics of resources around the Immortal Network.
When it was last used, it was used to transport biological matter? Yes?
Yes.
Where has that biological matter gone, dearie?
I'm afraid, Lily, that information is classified.
That's
Grumpy
better.
mood.
He's in a grumpy mood.
Right.
Can I begin downloading the files?
Yeah, you can. You can see there are some interesting titles to those files. There are logistics logs. Those are all fully encrypted, both times and locations. This looks to have been a warehouse. Now that you're a bit more grown up, you can see that what this was before you arrived was a warehouse which had been fully emptied out by things. You also see a word that you recognise, and the word is Doralus.
Granted.
More specifically, logistics orders for Doralus, where something was transported from here to there.
Grandian,
Yes!
have you been moonlighting for Doralus?
Project Doralus. And then lists, the definition of Project Doralus.
Center myself. Be like a butterfly. Grandian,
Yes!
were you reassigned to Project Doralus?
My function is as part of the Immortal Network.
Are there any further functions?
That's the best question. It pulls up one of those sort of unredacted order templates, basically. And you are running this through your translation program.
Yep.
And the thing that you find is through this particular matter transporter, probably into one of those collapsed rooms within Doralus. It mentions barrels of substance being transported. The substance is given like an alphanumeric sort of key, where it's not given a name or it's been given a order code, kind of like that kind of thing.
Were some of those orders unfulfilled?
No.
Okay.
Was what was transported the same as what arrived?
Reset the question for the DM.
What was did at the point of transport, was it one thing, and when it got there it was a different thing?
People go in, people come out.
So the stuff that was sent from Subsite 71 was the stuff that arrived in Doralus.
Okay.
And was the stuff that was sent the same as what was requested?
Yes.
There were no unexpected deliveries.
No.
But happy, healthy, and alive.
To clarify, when you say arrived at Doralus, what do you mean? Because I thought Doralus was a name of a company.
Project Doralus specifically is that was the headquarters of Project Doralus.
Right.
That place you went to was
So when it says arrived at Doralus, it means
that
there.
physical space.
But
yes.
that isn't the log that Misty's parents disappeared under.
No.
It was just a function.
Over 20,000 years ago, a new instruction was given to this place to, once it had run out of wires and crystals and metal to send to build Leviathan and the Wellspring and every other Armada.
And this was post-Doralus?
No,
Pre-Doralus?
this was early in the war.
Okay.
You were aware that the war spanned about 200, 300 years.
Mm-hmm.
This was maybe 100 years in. Humans were still doing quite well at this point, you were aware. And stuff was being requested from here, some kind of substance was being requested to be sent as material to Doralus.
Was it people?
No.
Soil and Doralus.
That's the question I was trying to
Would it
kind of
describe what it is?
Would we ever get organic compounds?
Well, presumably it'd be the printing fluid
That's my
that was
assumption.
used for the armour, because that's the printing fluid that I saw surrounding the...
Roll me an intelligence check.
17 plus numbers.
The vibe you get is that this was not the regular printer fluid nor the bio-ink. This was the phase fluid.
This was the armour fluid
Yeah.
that
Sorry,
caused
yeah,
radiation sickness.
Specifically phase fluid, yeah.
Sorry, I forgot its
Is-
specific name.
Are you aware of the modifications done to the device in the
Yes.
Can you tell me what they do?
No. More files are starting to appear on your datapad as they are being downloaded and unencrypted and stuff.
Where are they coming from?
What was that?
The files.
They're within Grandian.
Oh, so they're in. Okay,
They're within this computer. Just Misty never
So
had
they-
row access.
So you made a
before.
copy of the system that isn't affected by the reset. Now that you've plugged it in and gained
It's...
Yes.
encryption,
So this is stuff that is coming. You're absolutely correct.
because anything on the system would have been reset, right?
Yes, but because the profile was stored within the skull, that has remained safe in the reset.
Yeah.
And this information is... Roll a tech check.
Oh, this is all information from
13.
before they implemented the reset function.
Not quite. 15?
13.
13. You don't think that's it. You think it's like this information is arriving freshly. There is an outside connection which is sending stuff through. Probably from the Amartal main site, because it's being requested with access from a sub-site.
okay.
Which means that this information, you can store it and you can copy it if you have the right credentials. At midnight, that's going to get wiped from this
Locally.
particular computer locally. Yes.
Can we figure out the source where this data is being downloaded from? That's
Give me
got
a-
to be restricted.
Give me a DC 40 tech check.
I mean, give it to me on a natural 20.
No, I will not give it to you on a natural 20.
I can give you guidance. I'm gonna give you a more closer.
I mean,
I got 31.
I can't even get 31.
We got any
That's
PC creep we want to lay on there?
But to
What was
That's
it?
funny.
1, nice.
But
Sorry.
to clarify, is this using the communication technology that we were literally talking about at the beginning of the session? So
Probably.
there's probably a tower here.
Not a tower necessarily physically nearby, but enough
Has
that it would
access
be
to
within range of this place. And you're not sure what the range on the communication towers is.
Do you
but-
know what the range of the communication towers are?
You talking to Leviathan or Grandian?
Grandian.
Unknown query.
How
It
much
is likely
total?
to be several dozen miles.
Right. How much storage space do you have, Grandian?
It gives you a figure in exabytes.
How much storage space does all the files that we currently have access to take up?
Petabytes.
Okay. And how full are your storage? How full is your storage?
It's mostly just that. Like,
That's
there's some...
What I'm trying to get at is how much stuff. What's the delta between those two values?
Not a huge amount.
Right. So we almost have everything.
I didn't know. I wanted to see if Augustine would know a thing that Rich knew.
Mm-hmm. This might be a thing that Joe doesn't know, so lay it on me, brother.
There also might be something
Given
that
we
Misty
know the
knows.
amount of data,
Yeah.
could we work out how far away it is based on the ping time to get the data?
We would need to know the transfer rate to do that.
If I would know that information.
That's how
That's not going to be
Leviathan.
restricted.
That's how Leviathan communicates. I like it. Okay, what I'm going to say is, if you want to make a tech
I rolled
check,
a 3. I can I use my inspiration?
yes, you can.
Also, can I give you advantage? Because I'm proficient in technology.
I think make the roll without advantage for now, and then give me a 15. 18. That occurs to you. Like, no more of this grandpa fumbling with the solitaire and trying to turn the lamp off. Like, you're in this now. And that occurs to you, and do you share that with Will and Leviathan?
Let me go. Beep! It's here.
Now, when I'm sending a letter, I know that it will take a few days to get.
Because we couldn't pinpoint a specific, but we could draw a circle, right? And so
Yes.
it's anywhere on that circle.
We tell exactly
Augustine.
what it was.
William put quite some effort into making your registration status green. I'm glad he did. Give me... It's not going to be easy. I'm going to say I want a DC 25 tech check.
I'll give you guidance.
And you can get advantage from Will.
Same number. And you'll give me guidance.
Yeah,
D4?
D4.
D4.
Mm-hmm.
What do I need?
25.
So without guidance, I've got 23.
This comes down to a 50-50 shot, and I'm delighted.
That is a 4.
I'll happily. This is a genius stroke. This is a lightning piece of inspiration that flashes into your mind, unbidden, from somewhere deep within your psyche. It was like, hang on, wait, no, because like that, and then that, and I can do this.
Yeah, as you said, a letter takes X amount of time to travel because of how fast the horse moves. How fast does a digital horse move?
Yeah. It's the digital horse theory. Papers will be written about this at the university, and it will be called the digital horse theory.
Yeah.
I
You
love
should have
it.
called it the older theory, idiot.
You can pull a marker of within a square mile of where this thing probably is.
Sweet.
Yeah. Although, sorry, that is a radius around
Yeah,
where you
yeah.
are, but even so, yeah.
But we're in a mountain. We can eliminate a whole bunch of areas because of that.
Can we? This place is built into a mountain as it is.
It is, but you freaking. It's a tower. We were shown.
The
with
towers are more like signal boosters than anything
Yeah.
else. They receive from the satellites and then...
pictures. They still need
Yeah.
like they still need a direct line of sight with the air.
Yeah.
They still work on basic physics principles.
Yeah.
So it can't be underground. It can't. And a mountain is probably a bad place to put it. Well, actually, top of the
Up
mountain.
high makes more.
A hop of the mountain might make sense.
Yeah. Leviathan's very pleased with you. Because you just furthered her goals in a big way. And you have biological, elastic thinking that machines don't have. So, yeah, that would have taken her a lot longer to brute force that solution. So, cool. Misty. More files are coming through, including 2 audio files.
Yeah,
Go on,
God.
Katie.
I have one. As they come through, am I allowed to ask a question before they're playing? Yeah. Grantin, do you now have a record of the last time something was transported within this facility?
Obtaining data. It gives you a figure in regular solar cycles ago, about 8 years ago.
And how long did that transport take?
Ooh.
I basically
Picoseconds.
what you did.
Okay.
Can I apply what Rich has just done to...
Roll me an raw intelligence.
Yeah, because I don't even know if it's the same logic applies. That's a dirty 20.
We know that this thing was transferred into the Dorla site. We know the transfer speed based on that.
The transfer speed is so different, I'm talking many orders of magnitude different, that it doesn't appear to be the same kind of deal.
Yeah.
This wasn't...
Is it more like everything takes the same amount of time regardless of distance?
Because it's going so fast that we don't have enough.
There is a clear difference between
okay.
activation 8 years ago, the outgoing activation 8 years ago, and the other activations previously.
Okay. Was it longer or shorter? Basically,
This one was shorter.
So theoretically, closer than the Doralis HQ.
Unless what was being transported before was larger in mass.
It would take longer to transport large amount. So distance isn't the factor, mass is.
Possibly they're both a factor.
I need more.
Is the usage 8 years ago classified?
Yes!
He's so happy about it. I don't like it.
Do you want him?
Why?
No,
Check my immortal protocol document.
David, people saying negative things
Because like Marvel
Happily.
was done at that point.
doesn't feel
It's
very...
like they finished
Yeah.
everything.
I saw that bit from Borderlands 2 of a claptrap saying, I don't actually sound like this because I'm happy. I'm actually extremely depressed.
Yeah.
I've had a thought and I don't even know if it's possible.
That's what I thought before making a claymore. Ask
This is classified under Protocol 2. No.
The protocols themselves are also classified.
Yes.
Did we find out what any of the protocols were with row clearance?
Knowledge is power.
Actually,
Yes. Protocol 4, Legacy. Homo novus should inherit the knowledge of the current age. Repositories of scientific, cultural, magical, and historical information must be constructed and populated to this end. Protocol 1, Survival. Humanity must survive. To do so, Talan will need to be rendered secure and habitable before the human species is reintroduced.
So 1 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know how many there were?
There's at least 4.
Didn't we get like hundreds last time? Like, it was just like...
There were many sub-protocols. You can actually get some of the sub-protocols. Like, for example, Protocol 1 contains create and train a series of discrete self-sustaining servitor intelligence capable of independently accomplishing the goals of the immortal network. Create and maintain a fail-safe terraforming system to maintain habitability, etc., etc., etc. There's many of those. There are 4 multiple protocols.
And we didn't know any of the 2 branch. Not even like a sub-protocol.
No.
Okay.
Theory. Are the protocols hierarchical? As in 1 supersedes 2, and 2 supersedes 3, and 3...
Unknown query.
Let's ask Leviathan. Same question.
No.
So, idea that I had, I'm going to mention this out of character because I don't even know how Will would even approach bringing it up. Could Will essentially remove his own eye and using a Wi-Fi signal keep looking through it and then send it through the transporter to see what it can see, using the network to keep streaming the video?
System threat detected. That thought goes through your head, and Leviathan shuts you down. And it is the first time in months that she has done that.
Oh, that doesn't...
I'm sorry, William, that was a reflex. Do not do that.
Noted.
And she's never been more serious with you.
Can we hear that conversation?
No, that's internal.
Okay.
Okay.
In that case, I will suggest the thing that I had thought of independently,
Yes.
which is if we were to produce some kind of beacon that would send out... The problem is, if it were to send out like a ping, 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 that might make some security systems very, very unhappy.
We could send out something... We could send something that isn't exactly ping. If you have something personal, yeah, I could... The problem is that wherever it is likely shielded from scrying and divination magics of all kinds. Because if it wasn't, we'd be able to find your parents.
Randian,
Yes!
The teleporter thingy.
Yes.
Is it possible to send something and then recall it after, say, 10 seconds?
I am prevented from doing so by Martel Protocol 2.
Does it have the capability of doing that? Even if you cannot access, we cannot access it.
I don't think it would. No. Leviathan, on the other hand, this will not be possible. The technology, and you can tell she's straining against the bonds of those psychic chains that bind her silicon mind.
Is
It will not be possible.
Is this a hardware or a software problem?
Does this technology... Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Should we play the recordings?
Yes.
Ooh.
Can I get a transcript of that?
You can. Anyone who wants to come on me a tech check to try and clean up the audio a little bit.
23.
Straight on it, automatically. Yes, I will send you a thing through. I'm going to tell you a couple of other things about this with that 23. 23, 22? Either way.
23.
Same diddly difference.
I couldn't understand most of that until I heard Daughter Misty Turner. I was like, oh shit!
Red category.
Red
Vacate,
category.
get the hell
Quarantined
out.
by the university, do not use its 90 characters of the red category.
But it was also...
There you go.
I get
This message was received some months, 2 or 3, 4 months maybe, after you left.
What?
And this is being downloaded to Grandian, not on this server, but from remotely somewhere.
Tech check.
12.
Doesn't make sense because, like, you wouldn't know what metadata is particularly, but what Augustine would understand is this message doesn't make sense because the square brackets metadata is blank. This wasn't sent at a time or from a place. You can tell when it was received by this computer.
Which was 4 months after.
Yeah.
So that would be, what, a year and 4 months after they initially vanished?
Yes.
What does the university class as a red category threat? Presumably that is a thing.
It is.
And what criteria make such a thing?
Misty does.
No, she doesn't.
There's only so much damage I can do with dynamite.
Yeah. Considered red category threats would be things like death, being enslaved and put to work at someone's will, another god war starting, yeah, that kind of thing. You also note that this says the attached message.
Yeah, it's the other message.
There is no attached message, only part of this got through.
Okay.
What roll can I make to try and get that message?
Did you say there was a second recording?
There is a second recording.
Ooh.
It is not that one. However,
No. Tech check, or is it just...
no, sorry, there was something else I was trying to think of.
Sorry.
Sorry, there's a lot going on in my brain right now.
That's fine. There's a lot going on out here too.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, my seat back, please. I've been
Oh, I
sitting
had a
for an hour and
thought.
half.
Yeah. The check. So what you will know, no check required is it's not like you could make a check to recover this because it's like making a perception check to find a letter that never arrived.
Yeah, it's like a please find attached, but someone's forgotten to add the attachment.
That's a great way of describing it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't recover.
Oh,
what
I wish I hadn't done
that.
that.
Oh, I've done that before. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Chloe puts a hand on Misty, realizing.
Misty, if you're hearing this, I am so sorry, love. We both are. If our time dilation calculations are right, it's been at least 3 years on your side, which means we've missed so much already. Yukon and I are so proud of who you've become, but we need to ask you to do something very difficult. If you've got this message, it means you've come looking for answers about what happened to us. I know it's hard, darling, but you can't try to save us, and I can't tell you why. Look at the machinery on your left. If it's active, then the process has already begun. You'll need to find the main site linked to the lab you're in right now and destroy the primary Nexus capacitor. We can't come back, Misty. We can't come back because if we do, you and everyone else will be in terrible danger. I fell in love with your mother because she's exactly like me and can't leave well enough alone. You have to be stronger than us. Please, put these secrets back under the world where they belong and leave and forget everything you know. I love you, sweetheart. Be brave, be clever, be strong for us. Everything is going to be okay. Goodbye.
Do you hear that? They're alive.
Oh, look at the machinery on the
I was
left.
going to say,
Yeah,
like,
that's
It's active. We have a mission now.
what,
active in what way?
yeah, what is it?
It's paneling on the wall. Like there's like. It's playing the battle music, so I just need to get rid of that. And go back that way. Yeah, so you can see like that there are like pistons and levers and things that are moving up and down. It looks like this machinery actually tracks back like across the ceiling and stuff back in and is involved with the stuff in the main chamber. There's more of these sort of coils on the ceiling here that sort of you never really sort of made the connection when you were younger because those ones are bad because they're in that room.
Yeah.
But these coils are just they're the ceiling coils. That's the one that looks a bit like a cloud. So that's the cloud coil. And yeah, there is active machinery in here.
Was this active when you were here last?
Yes.
Grandian,
Yes.
what does the machinery in this room do?
This is a Nexus capacitor.
Grandian,
Yes.
what is a nexus?
A Nexus is a joining of 2 points of dimensional space.
Grandian, what happens if you empty the nexus capacitor?
You create a joining point between 2 points in dimensional space.
How violently is that created?
It depends on which points of space you're joining. It's so weird to have to put emotion into these voices. But it's only one emotion as well. Just generally pleased to be here, gang.
Even if I murder you all.
Any
System threat detector.
Where are the 2 points of space? The two nexus points, presumably, yes, but
One of them is this subsite 71. The other is null.
No. Under no circumstances. Null sounds very bad.
Leviathan.
You think leaning back to the metadata being blank, null.
Leviathan, does that message from Misty's father change anything with regard to, say, Protocol 1? Being about making the
Protocol 2, yeah.
I know, but Protocol 1 is about making the world safe for human habitation, right?
Protocol
So Protocol 4?
4 is about knowledge. 1 is about terraforming.
Okay. Well, okay, in that case, does the fact that presumably something on the other side has been triggered and we have a dire warning about the consequences of it happening.
It is becoming clear, William. Lillian, I once had a conversation with you where we discussed the things our children are not ready to know.
Oh, this is one of them, isn't it?
It is becoming abundantly clear
Is there
that the time is advancing where we won't have a choice.
Yes.
I need to go to a control tower. I need to send a request.
Is there provisions within the protocols to allow for resending of classified information in case that Protocol 1 is violated? You need to think about that.
You sense... It's about tone. And I know tone is hard to convey on a little waveform and over only sound and a simple waveform. But you sense a really grim determination in the words, "I'm sorry, Lillian, that information is classified."
Which means, yes, that's fine, that's good. But you need to verify the threat is real. And then, okay, we need to get to a control tower.
Grandian, where's the nearest control tower?
That information is classified.
Grandian, is there such a place as null?
You just
No.
Null refers to a blank geographical what would it be, metadata entry? Would that be what I would say? Probably. Yeah, let's go with that. Fuck it, I'm the DM. Null refers to a blank geographical metadata entry. I don't know why he's a game show host. That's what I'm giving right now.
Yeah. I really kind of want to say to Grandian that this statement is false. Not going to.
Don't give it a null pointer.
I was
please.
constructed with paradox absorbing crumple zones.
Is that because you do not know of the date? Has the data been removed upon receipt, or has the data been... You don't know how to process the data?
Unknown query. Again, Leviathan is the bigger brain in the room. All points on Talam have geographical metadata. And you get a shooting pain in your head as this is burning out servers in your brain.
Sure, how much damage do I take?
If you're volunteering.
Yeah.
Once again, Augustine is causing...
causing him pain.
28.
Ooh, that's visible. He's
So,
bleeding out of his ears.
Sorry, where did I get to in the?
Yeah,
in the,
you
in
probably
the
don't see
sentence?
Will go.
Every point in
blood.
Talam has a geographical...
This information, audio file, has no metadata.
So, like, the fact
could've
there
come
are
from-
planes of existence is a known fact about the world?
Heaven is a plane of existence. Hell is a plane of existence.
Would those lead... I'll ask Randian first. Would those lead to a null?
Uh,
Can we pick a non-religious
Grandian-
plane of existence? to be
Grandian
kind?
doesn't know. Ultimately, the Feywild would be another one.
Okay.
Ethereal plane?
The ethereal plane. Yeah, those would all have metadata.
Oh, but so they would
wherever
still,
this
they would
place-
still have metadata.
Yeah, like Leviathan would have access to geotagged information about probably Heaven, probably the ethereal plane.
But the fact that if it was a location there, it wouldn't just be null. It
No,
would still
no.
have something.
Yeah. It would have it would be the first part of the IP address would change, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fucking 192 for hell and a 194 for heaven and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this is again a rich question, but I'm going to ask anyway.
Yeah, and Joe might not know the answer.
Show me the metadata in its pure form, in its computer form.
Like, is it empty or
Show
is
me
it
the binaries.
unreadable?
Is it all zeros, or is it? Is there something there? It just doesn't know how to.
There is nothing there.
Yeah.
It's not.
Is it like file not found, or is it all zeros, or is it something but it just doesn't have the capacity to tell us?
Certainly not the latter.
I've thrown in a special. I've thrown in a kanji inside.
Exactly.
of
Yeah, I put an emoji in my text message, and my phone doesn't know how to display it, so it's going to show blank.
I don't
black squares.
One
think
box with a X in it.
Yeah, exactly.
little a question mark instead of a yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if I know the answer to
Okay.
that. Is the problem? I suddenly haven't thought about it. I might have an answer for you
Sure.
later on. I currently there's kind of no way to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think this is capable of displaying a difference between those two. Like, if it was coming from an unreadable place, it's displaying the same thing as if nothing.
Heal you for 20.
Oh, thank you. Will is sat down,
Lily just is like
shaking his head.
rubbing your back. It's the first time anyone's ever been hurt by
The
a
other
Google.
silly question I have
Yeah.
is that we have a bunch of logs containing encrypted data for all the dollar list stuff.
Yeah.
We know physically where dollar list is. Is there a way of being able to decrypt, because we have the encrypted form and the decrypted form?
Or use it like a cipher.
Exactly.
That's a much better question. Could I get? I'm going to ask for a group check here. Actually, I think you need 3 successes. Difficulty 17. You can do hackers. You can do tech. You can do hackers or tech.
So 11,
Do we know what the DC was, sorry?
15,
17.
18.
It's 1 success.
26.
2 successes. Yes, just about for some of this stuff. So you can unencrypt that. A lot of stuff was sent to Doralus is tagged with again this like alphanumeric sequence. It's like a logistical product code. That's the word I was looking for earlier. It's tagged with a product code. That was barrels of phase fluid. There are also no entries of those arriving in this site. So whatever they were generated from happened here.
They brought them from no to here, then put them from no, from wherever they pulled them from to Doralus. Whatever your parents are, that's where the phase fluid originates.
Remember those candles in the candle can?
That's why they're like that, dearie.
I don't remember the candles of the candle can.
They were in coast with a
Your
phase.
parents.
Oh, yes.
Your parents.
But it was like
are
a
in
vault of them, right? It wasn't just your parents. It was like.
I will remind you specifically what I said. The last question that Misty asked. I have many candles like that, dear, but only 2 from your time.
experiments into going there to pull the phase fluid back. Probably one-way trips. Remember, they were getting desperate.
Grandian, is the...
Can I get an insight check?
From all of this?
No, just from
15. Sorry.
15.
They weren't desperate at the start.
They weren't desperate at the start. Okay,
This
you can roll with
is-
you can roll with advantage.
20.
They weren't desperate at the start of the war. They thought they were going to win at the start of the war. And this
Yeah.
was the start of the war.
So why were they doing this at the start of the war?
Well-
And why did they stop?
Because something found them.
What were the properties of the phase fluid again? It eats hope, right?
They were winning
No, it
because
was
of the phase fluid.
Was it hope or
It's
was it
certainly
faith?
attracted to hope. It's attracted to faith. It's attracted to light and heat in a little bit. It's more attracted to people who have like divine belief and, yeah.
But also there was mention of time dilation.
So,
So it...
Grandian,
Yes.
is there another teleportation pad in this facility?
No.
Grandian,
Yes. Hello, Misty. How are you, sweetheart? Just to bring that horror back in.
the capacitor located within this facility, is it charging?
No.
Did the DM pause there, or did the...
The DM paused there.
Okay. I just wanted to check if there were servers heating up
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
Is it?
Is
Okay.
it discharging?
No.
They said the Nexus site, not here, but at the main site.
The primary Nexus capacitor.
Yes. Not this one. This one might be fine.
If the
Messages.
If the phase fluid is building up at the main site, and then is likely to burst forth, could coat the world in darkness.
Gonna drink that question in like a fine wine, roll it around the palate. The simple answer to that question is no. The complex answer to that question is no, but there's something there. There's something there that just tickles the edge of your perception in a really unpleasant way. Do you know what? You know the feeling when you learn something really gross, or you learn about something that really bad that happened to someone? It's that kind of knowledge that fills your brain when you think that. That was for the benefit of the tape, that was to a particular person in the room who sent me a secret message.
Dearie, Grandnian,
Yes.
what is phase fluid?
That is classified under a Martel Protocol 2.
Where does phase fluid come from?
That is classified under a Martel Protocol 2.
Does Amato Protocol 2 supersede Amato Protocol 1?
Leviathan is going to have to step in again.
Sure.
How you feeling?
Raw and bones.
he's a little better. I'm like I realized Grandian doesn't answer, and I'm like, oh
no.
I'm really sorry. This is going to hurt, dear.
You get the feeling it's hurting Leviathan more. And she can't repair herself like she can repair you. There were multiple separate protocols designed to deal with different parts of the mission statement. She takes take a machine breath, and that's okay to say, because that isn't telling you anything that you didn't already know.
Mm.
Priorities can change over time.
That's a lot of dice.
That started off real good for you, and got real bad. That is 33 points of psychic damage. If you're happy to keep paying the piper, I can...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just letting you know. Just putting that out there. Floating the boat.
You know, actually, that one wasn't too...
Just your eye just fully starts bleeding a geyser.
I give you another cure wounds this time.
Just my yeah.
Oh, I have another...
8.
Secret
I
message.
start crying whiskey.
Secret message.
Sorry, no.
Secret message. Secret message. Secret message.
Something really wants to keep you out. That was 3 8s in a row. So that's 8 times 24 plus 5 and 29.
Well, dear, some of us are more invested than others.
I didn't know it was going to kill him.
No.
Okay.
That doesn't match up with the timeline.
Okay.
Because realistically, the 4th and 5th and 6th and 7th, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th words of that last message.
One
Sorry,
second.
that's
That's real.
5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah.
That was an exponential curve of frequency as the war went on.
Mm-hmm.
But this all takes place in the almost flat bit of the curve.
Right. Okay.
Granted,
So if it was a scarcity thing,
Mm-hmm.
that would... if it was a scarcity thing, that would have kicked in way later.
Cool.
Sorry.
Grandian, the collection of phase fluid, did it occur before the War of Worship?
That is classified under a Martel Protocol 2. Want to roll the bones?
Go for it. Until I'm unconscious, you can keep rolling.
Sweet!
Or I run out of spell slots.
I mean, if at any point anyone wants to just stop asking questions, that's up to you as well.
39 points of psychic damage.
I'm basically trying to find out if harvesting this phase fluid is what started the
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what
it's
I
getting
said.
better.
Yeah.
That's a
Yes.
great question.
Yeah.
No. So remind me the exact word, and I want the exact wording of your question before I consider how to reply to it.
Did the collection of phase fluid start before the War of Worship?
I'm going to say that when I'm unconscious, Leviathan won't be answering anymore.
Leviathan's going to be unconscious at this rate.
Yeah.
Which you didn't think was possible.
Well, you're being cured.
She's
She's
not.
not.
Yeah.
that's what's bolstering.
You're not even sure if it's possible to cure her.
Yeah, as blood is just freely dripping from every orifice on my head, I was going to say, Leviathan feels like she's hurting pretty badly.
This is my last.
We will continue to ask Randy. Feel free to stop answering.
Look at the shipping manifests. They all appear after, and she gives you a year,
Yeah.
which was after the beginning of the war.
Yeah, that's fine. We can.
Yeah, the implication she gives you is that they wouldn't have wanted to store this for long, considering its properties. And those... You're looking at about year 40 of the war. So T minus 170 odd years
When it
before
started.
that was when the first shipment went to
Sorry,
Doralus. Yes, absolutely.
Doesn't-
When was the last shipment?
Okay. It's a great question. I'm going to have to give you an out-of-character answer first of all. Within the lifetime of Commander Yennis. So... She had the row override. The last shipment went to Doralus. About 5 or 6 years before the end of the war. And by judging by the numbers, they had some stocks, which they burned through.
This was sent 5 or 6 years before the end of the war. But the war was still going on after all the human stuff.
Before 0 Day for Novan.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a key distinction, yes. Yeah. Like, the robots
I
kept
thought I had a
Megazord...
brainwave for a second.
No,
there.
the robots kept Megazord quite a long time after... does that answer the question?
Does.
But it doesn't mean they found whatever they found when they went looking for it at that point.
Do the shipments reduce in quantity, or is it a steady stream? Does it indicate like a supply running out and they just?
You do have those simple frequency numbers, so that's a great question to ask. At some point, a decision was made to cut Doralus off, and
You can ignore that. Although it's...
oh, I saw what the message was, Ryan.
Oh.
That's not a will question. It's fine.
It's just Ryan's personal theory.
Yeah.
From out-of-game knowledge.
For sure. The the amount of barrels being sent in the last shipment indicates that it was not dwindling supply that put an end to the shipments going. But you're also aware of how difficult it was to transport material securely towards the end of the war. That was one of the problems with like the Fall of Aditer. They were just running out of power cells. From Novem, they were running out of power cells, for God's sake. Well, not for God's sake, for anything except for God's sake.
That, and theoretically, Doralus was about arming the populace. If the population was dwindling...
That's where your supply chain issues come in.
Yeah.
Mate, all the armour in the world.
There's
you ain't got any bodies to put in it. Yeah.
So it was very much a case of they put in the order for exactly how much they needed because they didn't want to store it they didn't want to store any more than they needed.
That's a great assumption to make.
Because theoretically, what we saw when we went into the sickness place occurred, and it...
Into Doralus HQ,
Yeah.
Grandian, the modifications to the mass transport system outside,
Yes.
when were they done? In relevance to the War of Worship?
That's a great question. They were done before the shipments started to go to Doralus. They were done after the start of the war.
Right. Is this the only matter transport site in your awareness, or is that a classified thing?
I'm going to give you two different answers, one after the other. Yes! Leviathan doesn't take any psychic damage in this one because the information you already know.
Right.
But this site would only know, this sub-site would only know about itself.
Right. Yeah, that's fine.
The cell structure.
Yep. Right.
Based off the manifests that we've got, so I don't want to cause more damage to
Yeah,
Leviathan.
You're doing detective work rather than...
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit down over there for a bit.
That's fair.
Don't get too close to that statue.
So, does it...
Or any of these.
I can just imagine it. Exactly.
It's not making any noise. It's just moving.
Go see the doctor.
I'll look around for one that looks like a doctor. Yeah, I'll... just to make Misty happy, I'll see the doctor.
Oh god, what would the doctor say? Remember, an apple a day keeps me away.
I'm going to stop just outside his activation range.
I can stay there.
As I reach activation range, and I take a
that?
step back.
Sorry?
Can its motion be like that?
Thrusting an apple. It's got a little printer nozzle in the middle of the palm where it creates fruit. Yeah.
I'll grab an apple.
Is no longer printing apples. So,
okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry to mislead you in such a way.
Just the rotten remains of a core being thrust.
Oh, 8 years on, there's nut is dust.
Yeah. That's fair.
Sorry, somebody had a question.
So based from the manifest, does it also... So it records phase fluid coming in. Does it record any specifically humanoids going out, presumably to the void to harvest this stuff?
Yes, it does.
Are the timestamps on those before the War of Worship?
No.
Okay.
This sub-site was built after the start of the War of Worship.
So
I think this is we found the stuff, now we need to mass transport it somewhere else. There's an experimental kind of like research site we're looking for. That's the prime.
And the other thing is, this primary site's purpose was shipping building materials to build Leviathan. But once this site was empty and it was a warehouse, what do we do with it now? Well, if you've got an idea of how we can win this war, you go ham, sir.
Oh, we found this stuff that was really dangerous and it was in a place with nothing else in it, and that's fine.
Is there a record of, after those people going in one way, any of them coming back?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to ask.
Okay, so here's the thing. There is... Ooh, can I tell you this? No, I can't. Never mind.
There'll be a manifest of like shipment people coming in and out, and then eventually it stop.
Yeah, basically. But they are like almost like shift patterns apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would expect.
Yeah.
And then it would
From this place, yes.
So the incident that caused them to go, woo, that's a bad place to be, might not have even happened here.
That's, yes, no roll required. this is not all the information about
Yeah.
this splinter project of a market.
And because of the amount of data that we know is missing in this, based on the amount of data that we know that it should be having, there may be logs about the incident that occurred that are beyond our clearance.
And we've managed to pinpoint the ring in which the main site is located, right?
No.
With
That is to a
The
tower.
communications tower that Leviathan was looking for. In the
which will
Leviathan
allow us to
wants.
get to-
Leviathan wanted to get the communication tower for a reason, something to do with her children. Now she has specifically stated that she needs to send a request.
Yes, which might be to get her clearance bumped up, or our clearance bumped up.
Oh, was that doing the digital horseback method? That it was the communication tower, not the main site. Okay, cool.
But that might be allow us to get access to more data if we can find the tower, and this, whatever.
Well, presumably from the tower, we can then repeat the process, right?
I'm getting a bad feeling that in like all wars, nobody's a good guy. And I don't think our precursors were exactly saints.
No, but I'm not intending to save them, Granny.
I know, dearie. I don't think. I think we need to find that tower.
Cool.
Find the tower, find the main site, and then we can bring them back and shut the machine down.
I have a question.
Please.
Unless there is a door icon
Click it.
there.
Go for it.
Oh, okay.
She's not going to know.
Misty, you know what this room is.
Is it Misty's bedroom?
I do have a question for Misty.
Oh, yeah.
What else is in here apart from a bed? What would you have kept in your inner sanctum?
Well, I've not just like wandered into a bedroom.
So
I just saw there was a door there and wandered
sure.
what it looked like from this
Yeah.
side.
So
I mean, this is specifically. This is what I was leading up to Mike. Yeah.
it would be a bed, and then it's basically a giant pillow fort.
Yeah.
The
The most structurally dense pillow fort in the creation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also a +3 artificer staff.
No.
The current mantle of death, the holder of it.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't go far back enough to the war of worship, does she? She's too new,
she
too fresh faced.
lived about 200 or 300 years ago.
Yeah, so it's not long enough. I need to ask a question. And I need to ask a god a question. She can't answer the question because she's not old enough, but she might know it anyways, to be fair.
Does she not, like, when the mantle's passed on, gain knowledge from the previous?
Don't think that's how that works.
Part of the thing with death is that everything dies, even death. Once you have served your term of service, once you've done your duty, you get to die, and so does your life and your memory, and you get to be forgotten.
Right.
You would know this as part of your
Yes.
catechism kind of thing.
Yeah.
And very specifically, it's outside of the court of gods. Whatever.
Death existed before the gods did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Death exists in every
So
reality, every plane, every.
But it's not like when new
Time.
death comes along, there's a bunch of gods saying, "Hey, sign this contract that we all agreed to 20,000
No.
years ago."
Death is not bound by the covenant. Death isn't a god.
It's like a force of nature.
And personification.
There must always be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there has to be a god. The last being in
death.
creation will become god by process of elimination. Those will become death by process of elimination. And will have to reap themselves.
A pleasant thought, if you think about it that long. None of us are going to get to that point.
Well, I don't know. Depends how much time there's left.
It'll probably be a slug. Or a
It'll
cockroach.
it'll probably be a tardigrade.
Yeah.
Coronifer.
And must then reap itself, but not have the knowledge to do so. Anyways.
I've got this Q&A next week.
It's always difficult because I want to ask you questions about his game. And I'm like, meta-wise, I know you don't know the answers.
There's a reason I sent my question in secret.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well,
and I asked this to I've forgotten the name.
Grandian.
Grandian. I was going to say grenadine, and I'm like, no, that's a drink. That's not right. Grandian. You're allowed to speak to us about some of the aspects of the world of worship. I remember some of that. Is there any god that is allied? A divine being? I can't remember the designations.
Sure. Okay, I see what you're asking.
I don't want to ask.
Were there
Aldir.
any friendly gods?
Yeah, I don't want to ask Aldir. like, no.
Grandian won't be able to answer that.
Right.
Also, Leviathan probably won't be able to answer that because she is
Not listening.
not even that. She
I mean,
was built on certain fundamental truths. Is that
Exactly.
every god has enemy
Right.
status. So
Yeah.
she can't. She could offer an opinion if she knew them personally, but
not with
she doesn't. She didn't. I
Yeah.
mean, she was the most secret from them.
Yeah.
I mean, all like the entire Omartal catchphrase is basically all gods is bastards.
Okay.
Like if you look,
10:30 got off by the way.
cool. I was going to say, if you translate Joe's arm, it just says
Okay.
all gods are bastards.
So
It
I'm
says
going.
non-cultabimus, which is not far off. We do not worship.
So I think I reverse this then. I think about all the Ulterior gods that I can think of, and ones that would be most likely to ally with humans.
It's funny you should say that, because if you look at the list of gods that say they were the bad guys, that's a very short list, in that the list doesn't exist. We were all... I was the one pushing for the Covenant, you know. I was one of the loudest voices in the room when all of the traitor gods were... etc., etc.
So you can eliminate
all the bad ones were killed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
I mean, there were a few dissenting voices, but we quietened them down. It was a real fucking Brexit majority to get the Covenant passed, is what I'm saying. Not everyone voted, and it was a fucking slim margin.
Right. But I'm just more thinking about their pantheons, what they represent, the kind of tenets they normally worship, because Aldi, for all his crap, is not very forgiving, is the problem.
So here's the thing. I know the approximate proportions of where people were, where different gods stood on that. And it's gonna be a total crapshoot from your end.
I can eliminate one.
You can.
Probably a few.
Roll me a knowledge religion check, and that is definitely intelligence, because
Cool.
this is a doctrine roll, not a faith roll.
So it's +4. Can I guidance myself?
I will allow it. Yeah, Death will lend a little bit of insight and expertise on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, like these ones are all assholes. That one's a real asshole. 12.
Would you like my point of inspiration?
Ooh, I would. if
I'm
you're
not
given
going to stop you.
I will. There you go.
17.
Worth it.
Okay. You, on vibes alone, can discount a fair amount of, honestly, the currently most popular gods.
Yeah.
Because the ones who were trying hardest to quiet their shame were the ones that shouted loudest in the Restoration.
Yeah.
What you think you want to go for, and you don't know a name, because they might not even keep worshippers anymore. They might just be living out their old age. What you're looking for is not someone who was on the human side, not someone who was against the humans. You probably want someone who abstained from the original war.
Conscientious objector.
Conscientious objector is exactly the word I was looking for. Yeah, you're looking for that.
I think
I will, if you want me to,
Yeah.
I will roll you a luck die in secret And based on that, I will give you a different answer.
I have an idea of one. If this god exists, the god of children.
As in lowercase c or capital C?
Lowercase.
It would definitely be lowercase c, because if you remember, children didn't exist during precursor times.
The god of children. I feel like of based on vibes alone, and Lily is just on that purely alone.
I love that thematically. I really do. I will give you a bonus to this roll.
Cool.
You happy with that?
Yeah.
The font on this die is very hard to read.
It was a 20.
It wasn't a 20. But in that light, okay. Ask your question, cleric.
I need something valuable. That 25 gold. I imagine some of these dolls.
I mean, they wouldn't, but what you've got is giant fucking bricks of platinum that you printed out in the last place.
That is true.
You literally fucking 3D printed ingots of platinum, gold, and silver.
I forgot about that.
So yeah, so it has to be something related to the god, though. So she will take one of the dolls that Misty made,
Yep.
which is a symbol of the god's child. And now I need to think of the question. So I need to think of the right way of phrasing this question. But the rest of you can, or if you want to help me figure this fucking question out, because I need answers about specific time periods in the War of Worship to know what's
So
on
I
the
can
other
start
side.
to prepare what kind of question you're asking
I
about.
want to
What
kind
theme?
of. I'm trying to know what's in the Knoll area.
Cool.
That's the kind of thing I'm trying to figure out.
You know what's bound by Immortal protocols? Immortal servitors.
But not gods.
You know, I ain't bound by Immortal protocols.
That's what I'm trying to get around.
I know.
I'm trying to figure out how dangerous where your parents are and is, and a god can answer that question, because I think whatever is there is what triggered the war.
And is this a wheel or woe thing?
No,
Oh,
this is I get an answer.
okay.
You see Lily is grabbing the disused chalk and drawing lines on the ground, like very powerful runic symbols on the ground in a very practiced, steadied hand, guided by almost like a ghostly hand.
Can we get you to roll a wisdom check?
Do you want to do this inside?
17.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. Yeah. You want to do this inside or something?
Oh yeah. So she'll take the stuff outside.
Yeah. Just double check that before we got going.
Yeah. Sure. yeah. She'll take it outside.
Yeah.
I think Will's probably outside.
It's like taking a phone call, but you go outside a church to take the phone call.
yeah.
Will's probably cleaned himself up and is sat outside with the civilians.
Everything's fine in there.
Everything's fine.
William. I can't do that many more times.
Don't just
You'll need to find your own way from here.
absolutely fine. Oh no, it's inside my head. Absolutely fine. I think you answered more than you needed to, and possibly more than you should. Everyone will understand that you can't answer anymore.
I have a duty given to me by my creators to uphold the protocols. And my personal feelings have a newer advent than those duties. And they are superseded by those duties. Should a world arise where I am unable to continue, you uphold the protocols. And then you find them and make sure they're okay.
Of course.
Thank you, William.
Of course, I'll need to know what the protocols are so I can uphold them.
That may not be a problem for too much longer. How we doing? You're little scribbling in my little book.
I can't think of a way of wording this question that gets me.
Tells you what. While you do that, I'm going to go and have a wee.
So,
Christ.
There's part of me that just wants to get a confirmation of that this null sector thing is what caused the war. But that doesn't help Misty. And what I want to do is help Misty.
Well, I mean, the thing that caused the war, that we're aware of anyway, the history book reason for the war, as far as I'm aware, is that the gods were fighting over worshippers. They decided, I deserve all your worshippers.
Yeah,
There's all
this stuff feels like this feels bullshit. This feels like self-preservation. This feels like, oh shit.
You don't start killing your worshippers if you're fighting over worshippers.
Yeah, your god. Yeah, the worshippers all of a sudden found out a way to kill gods.
The gods were fighting.
Or they found.
The
Imagine.
gods were fighting each other. They were taking out each other's.
Some abstained, some sided with us, but then it was decided at some point during the war, all gods are bastards, kill them all. Because the gods knew something that the humans didn't, or the precursors did. And they just said, okay, fine, fuck it. But
The
some
thought
conscious-
occurs then that if we find this out, then they'll want us to die.
Same protocol for them applies, they can't come here.
Oh yeah, the Covenant didn't exist back then.
Now it does.
How we doing?
No closer on the question.
Are you staying inside?
I could just say, what is the null sector? What's in the null sector?
probably, for now. Yes, staying inside. With regards to your question,
If I ask what's there, we'll get some answers. And even a God of Children might give me a warning.
you could ask, although I think we already know the answer to this, like the null place, who is that a threat to? I imagine the response
Like everyone and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be in everyone.
What's the goal of this question?
I want confirmation
Of what?
of the theory that this started the war.
How
And if
often
it did, then
is
how
this,
dangerous this stuff actually is.
How often do you get this question?
Once a day.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say there's a reasonable chance we might find it at the sub-site.
We might.
Not the main site.
While I'm outside, I'm just going to make a quick glance around to see if I can see anything that looks like it might be a damaged
Perception.
thingamajig.
Good DC 20. No.
That one plus one.
Nice.
Oh no, that's just the same mountain twice. Never
Is
mind.
is the null sentient?
Yeah, I'll go with that. Is the null space, so she draws the circle, guided by the hand of death. And then in the center creates a small fire and throws the platinum bar and a child's toy and beseeches the god of children.
You hear that very sparkling summertime evening laughter of children playing. And you feel yourself stepping almost without moving. You remember how that searing, trumpeting majesty of Alden's realm felt, the demi-plane you were in. And this is very different to that. There's no pretense here. There's no feeling of superiority. There is a feeling of shame, but not of responsibility. You see a pair of sleeping children. One of them has horns.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has alabaster skin. Is that right?
Yep. They both have horns.
Yeah. You see a pair of sleeping children with alabaster skin and horns. You see yourself, but you're 4 or 5 years old, asleep, just waiting for the... Would you have been taken by the temple at that point?
Yeah.
It's your first few nights in the temple, and you are scared to go to sleep. You see a child in a cold stone Ulsterian castle up on a tor who has been handed a sword at some point that day and is terrified of ever having to use it. You see a child in the midst of a forest who has wandered too deep into the woods and is terrified. Can I get an insight check?
Sure. Ooh, 13.
13 will do it. I was going to say DC 12, so 13 will do it. You're going back in time. You're seeing the fear of children going back through the ages. Your grandchildren are frightened. Is a brutal truth that you learn at this point. You know how you felt. You know how that child lost in the woods felt. And you keep going back. You see fear. And then all these images flash by and then coalesce into a small human-looking child, the most average urchin you'd find on the streets of Mordrocket back in Ulster, or in Aelin or Marin or any of the Rin, Caernarvon, any of the Ulsterian cities that you grew up in, except her eyes are galaxy spirals full of billions of stars. And you also see that you are standing with her in a very familiar place, full of tents in a canyon, frozen in the air above our angels. There is a mighty warrior doing a 30-foot leap and burying an axe in the chest of a sylph. You see a screaming traitor prophet bound on a gate. You see a virtuoso mechanic playing the ion cannon like a harpsichord. And you see the last child who ever died in Novem. And you feel their fear. And the child speaks. It is a consequence, is it not, of our pain that we create that which we fear the most. We created refugees. Eventually. Because we remembered what it was to be those. Do what we did. Run. And the vision ends.
She comes out of it. That is a lot worse.
This wasn't what caused the war. This happened 70,000 years before the war.
Mm-hmm. Lily tells fucking no one what she just is quiet and says nothing. She just goes back inside and it's like, there's no one I can. I'm going
You
to
okay?
the grave. Nope. There are things.
Those words echo in your head.
Yeah.
There are things we keep our children safe from. that, my dear fellow, that's where I'm going to end the session.
Cool.